Hari Om. Through the Navaratri, many people were feeling fatigued because the Navaratri aligned itself to 2 weekends, and people were complaining that so many places to visit. Those Golu and various arrangements. Hope you have recovered from it. I'm looking only at the women because usually that is the women. Men may not have gone. So we are in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we have done the introductions to it. Have I spoken about the two kinds of sannyasa? Yes, no, and also as to how various organs of perception and action perform without the layer of ego. Then how do we take care of that percentage of life where there is predominant expression of this ego? So that we see in the 11th shloka of 5th chapter. If you can pull up to that. Repeat after me. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगम त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये. I am told that Puja Gurudev, when he brought out the chart called BMI, not the body mass index, but it is body, mind and intellect. So this particular shloka was his inspiration. When we interact with the world outside, we have three distinct pathways. One is through the body. Now the body has the organs of perception and action. All of them club together the physical aspect. The second, manasa, through the emotions. We feel the outside world and interact with our emotions. And the third one is through the intellect with our ideas and convictions. And what is the most subtle aspect of all these three is the convictions. Do we do anything in life without conviction? Nothing that we do ever happens without conviction. Whether we do things good, bad, indifferent, or a sloppy job, whatever we do, it is from that conviction alone. Even if it was as simple as I am feeling thirsty, I need to get a glass of water. Unless that conviction is strong, we don't even act on that. What is the simplest way to explain how do you quench your thirst? Go get a glass of water, drink it, be done with it, right? So you're sitting in your office room or on your couch and you're feeling thirsty. You recognize the first thought of your thirst. Do you immediately jump, go get a glass of water? You ponder on it. Pyas lagi hai. I am feeling thirsty. Then you check. Is anybody in the kitchen or nearby? For me, there is nothing like that. If I feel thirsty, even if I bend and check, and there is only me. So I have to go myself, go fetch some water, come drink, and I'm imagining, okay. Tell me if I'm wrong. So you bend down, look at the kitchen if there is anybody there or somewhere around, children playing, or children are in the living room watching something or doing something. Then you say, hey, can you get me a glass of water? And your bad luck, only children were there. And you asked one of the child, one of them you asked, go get. Do they immediately oblige? Tell me how it happens in your house. The first one says the other one has to go. Why only me you always pick on me? Go tell the other one. The other said, no, I did it last time. No, you do it this time. So finally, you increase a higher decibel level than what they are making. I said, enough, go get me some glass of water. That too, if they are in middle school and less. If they are above, their immediate response is, I am not available, go get it yourself. And once that is done and you are going to get yourself, anyway you are going, get me also, says the older one. Unless that thought becomes a desire, desire becomes very pertinent. We don't push ourselves. Pertinent meaning it becomes a conviction. I must have a glass of water. Then I jump into action and fulfill that particular thought. When for a small act of drinking water itself, I need a conviction. Imagine for all the other complex or complicated things that we do in life. Can they happen without that? So the conviction modules our emotions. The emotions kick the organs of action into its direction. Usually that is the scheme. In between comes this pseudo layer that you asked for water and it was refused. And I'm taking water as an example, but there can be other things. And Mr. He-Man asked Mrs. She-Woman, get me a cup of tea. I said, हाथ खाली नहीं है. I'm busy. And that can become a trigger point for argument. Doesn't it? Do you see the scope of it? Can it lead to an argument? The men are all pensively looking at, I don't want to answer this. And the women have already given a verdict. Yes, of course. What do you think? You can keep barking orders at me? I'm not going to. Go do it. And have you ever done anything that it can escalate to any which level. So we have body physical aspect, emotional aspect, and then the intellectual aspect. Through these equipments, when we are functioning in the world outside, how to function so that I can gather maximum peace. Because the one who is peaceful alone can provide peace. The one who is shattered into pieces, what will they offer to the society around or the environment around? They can only give their pieces. They are not at peace. How do we achieve that maximum peace? Here Bhagavan says, if we remember this one key aspect, if we don't remember this one key aspect, we become monkey aspect. Man in Hindi and key in English. What is that one key aspect? Sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. If we give up the sense of attachment to expect a certain mode of result, if that mode of result is not guaranteed, I am pitching myself to fluctuations and irritations. Through these body, mind and intellect, when we function in the world, we are creatures of habit. Are we not? At a physical level, we need certain parameters. What kind of parameters? The room has to be set to a certain temperature. Has that ever become a point of argument? One likes it colder, the other likes it warmer. Soft bed or hard bed? Soft pillow or hard pillow? This is all at a body level. We are creatures of habit. Every single act that we perform morning to evening, they are in a very regularized patterns. Morning, waking up, I need that warm beverage. Tea or coffee. Without that tea or coffee, my engine doesn't start up. That is the jump start. And I'm just talking about the physical habits. I know my father and their generation, early morning with that cup of tea, they would sit with a newspaper. As if they were going to give an exam the very next hour. They would read through every single column there. And of course, some start from the headlines and go to the sports, some start from the sports section and go to the headlines, depending on what, that's also a habit. And if the paper is not there, then they will go in front of the gate and run up and down, pace up and down and say, "Cha, aaj paper hi nahi aaya." As if there is something, as a calamity that something was not available. Habit. So morning to evening, everything that we lay out is certain habit. Where did these habits come out from? I saw some video moving here and there, but audio did not reach me. Where were those actions and inactions born out of? So she answered, she said, our likes and dislikes guide them. I like certain thing, therefore I want it in that way. I don't like it, therefore I don't want it in certain way. Once I was talking to a group of ladies, and I said, why? And the discussion that they were having was, cooking is such a chore. It takes so much time. So I should have kept quiet. I said, how much time does it take? You'll be done under 30 minutes cooking. And I said, Swamiji, if it is one person or one menu where you decide what is to be done and you're done with it, 30 minutes we can understand. Each person has a different taste, different need. And to add to that, we now have our in-laws, my parents. Each one has their own medical need. So one cannot have sugar, one cannot have salt, and then totally together they cannot have spice. And the rest of them eat with this, that they don't eat with this, there should be this kind, that with that. Each one has a very specific set of likes and dislikes. It has to be in that order alone. Now here, to break away from that habit, what is suggested is discipline. Is discipline not a habit? Voluntary, of course, but is it not a habit? Disciplining is also a habit. But then it is a habit that has been invoked so that I can break other habits which are seemingly stopping me from flowing freely from one experience to the other through the day. At a physical level, we need certain discipline. At an emotional level, we need certain discipline. At an intellectual level, we need certain discipline. And whenever that discipline is invoked by the self, for the self, it is quite productive. When that discipline is thrusted upon us by any other authority, whether that authority be husband or wife or parents on children, or you also as a parent get to an age wherein children start giving you guidelines. Mom, dad, you should be doing this. Anybody from outside thrusting it. Is there an acceptance? Oh, so nice of you. Thank you for informing. I will definitely do it this way. Instantly, is there a complete adaptability to it? There is a resistance. Anywhere where it is thrusted, or we feel that it is thrusted upon us, there is reaction. Like in Balavihar, I tell the teachers, don't give children homework. They don't like it. In school they have homeworks, and then they come to Balavihar, here also you give them homeworks. But what do we do with if they have to come prepared and they have to do their bit? I said, don't call it homework. Tell them that they have to do certain research. And they have to bring it by next week. And you see the results. Just the words changed. One calls it homework and there is a reaction. Why? It's a conditioning or disciplining wherein it is a responsibility thrust on you which you are not very keen about. But when you say research, what is the difference? Actually speaking, there is no difference. Empirically, there is no difference. But the moment you use the word research, the mind opens up and it almost feels like you have the freedom to choose as to what you research, how you present it. There's an opening. There's an immediate adapting to that module. Because psychologically it has been seen whether the habit is at a physical level or at an emotional level or at an intellectual level. Any disciplining from outside, we react to it, we revolt to it, we throw tantrums. It's not just that the kids throw tantrums, even we as adults throw tantrums, don't we? We may not claim it as tantrums. Don't we throw tantrums? Each one of us sitting here has their own little sizable amount of tantrum. Why? I don't like it when others thrust it on me. All these patterns that I develop are based from my own likes and dislikes. And I can think about a very smooth life if everything has been lined up, ironed out purely on basis of my likes and dislikes. Wish list. Does it ever happen that everybody and everything in my life is aligned according to my likes and dislikes? Yes, no. So much of our life is not in our hands, is not according to our likes and dislikes. Recent some counseling, like, these are the habits which are irritating, otherwise he's a nice person, said she. So I said, Amma, look, the rest of the things are fine, right? That you don't have a problem. There's only few things probably that in such a module life that you have a freedom to do what you like. In that, instead of trying to scrub everything away, give each other room to do what you feel like, at least those 2-3 things. That way you are not on each other's nerves, you are not under each other's skin. And that lady suddenly says, I never thought of it that way, that it can be used as a module to give each other that scope of freedom. So through the body, through the mind, through the intellect, then the way we function is to cater to that likes and dislikes, and most of it is not in our hands. The more we become aware of the fact that it is not in our hands, the more revolting we feel again towards that kind of life. I don't know, Swami, what is happening. This is becoming too pressured, too painful. And what is it that is causing that pain? It's not that the entire external environment is causing that pain. My own resistance born out of my own likes and dislikes. Isn't it true? Either you all did not have good tea today, or you are in a deep thinking mood. Because even the head movement is a very deliberately slow. From here, when I'm looking at it, it looks like a slow motion. So how do we break that like and dislike? Sangam tyaktva. First, at all these 3 layers, identify what are the things that really suffocate us in our existence. Our own likes and dislikes, which are causing different trends of irritation. Identify them. Before we can spend time identifying it, we instead become experts at, what do we become experts at this stage, in this intersection of our discussion? Analyzing is okay, Hama. We blame others. I am finding this irritation and frustration because of that person's habit, that person's like, that person's insistence. Therefore, I am miserable. Let us mature up. Let us not blame. Let us not point fingers. Start thinking from the perspective that what if that change is not on the table for discussion? What else could we do? Then when we start identifying and listing out all the things that are based from my own likes and dislikes, which are becoming the cause of my irritation, the list will baffle you. My own list. Have you ever spent time in analyzing your own life in this pattern? Write it down. If you're truly sincere, it will not take more than half an hour. But a well spent half an hour. At physical level, what are the things that irritate me? Identify the irritations. What in me as like and dislike is causing that irritation? Identify and write it down. At each layer. To come to terms that it is my own likes and dislikes and to see clarity in it itself takes a lot of courage. Because what is the other side of it? Now this may be my like and dislike, but this irritation is not because, it is because of the other person only. We are so convinced of it. As I said, that is not on the table for discussion. If we take it that sincerely and identify. And then, what is the first step? Identify all the irritations and frustrations at all levels. At the level of body, at the level of mind, at the level of intellect. Second, the pattern of likes and dislikes which create that frustration. Third, how do I correct that pattern of like and dislike? To tell you a fact, if you start changing it without expecting it from others, the others around you will start asking, is everything okay? Because usually you react, you are not reacting. Are you okay? Are you doing fine? Because that reaction is something that they are also anticipating. After I did my Vedanta course, I was in the ashram for 2.5 years. Guruji said, go take blessings from your parents, spend time with them before you go to the ashram where you have been assigned to. And many of them gleefully went. I was resisting and he looked at me very clearly. You make sure that after you go there, call from your house and I want to have a word with your parents. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. Just to make sure that I have gone. So I went there and I had all this knowledge that I had just learnt in the ashram. And my module or my way with which I would interact with my mother, that whatever she says, I have to reject it and she has to scream back, I have to scream back. and we have to have that tussle for every little thing. That is how it was prior to my going to the ashram. And with all this knowledge, I went back, and my mom said something, and instead of butting my heads with her and arguing, I said, okay. And she's like, 2 days, 3 days, and then she said, "Beta, theek hai na tu? Are you okay?" Because I'm worried. I'm worried that there's something wrong with you. I did not realize as to what was the cause of her worry. I was sharing with another senior Swamiji that this is what is happening at home, and I have to spend another 25 days there. It is getting to a point wherein I'm waiting eagerly to say, don't wait for getting out. Rather, as a play, act out the same way that you were as you were before, and see how relaxed she'll be. So next day I went back, and she said, "Beta, coffee chahiye?" I reacted. You should have seen the big smile on her face. Ha! This one I can relate to. This one I know. The other one who is all like, glowing with that calmness, and that I cannot tolerate. And the rest 20 days she was happy. When you make the change, don't expect that the world around you will change at your own pace. They may not change. Now, once you know that you have made that conscious change, for the sake of rest of them, can you not act it out? Like, when you are playing in a playful mood with your child, when the child comes and says, "Ooh," don't you act like, "Ooh, I am also scared"? Are you trying to lie there? Are you being a liar there? Are you not being honest there? It is not about honesty and lying. It's about being in a playful mood. Do you get what I'm saying? Because suddenly we become a moral police. But Swamiji, don't you think it is cheating and not being honest? Dishonesty is despicable. Arey Baba, khel hai. It's a play. Don't throw others off balance and create an imbalance there. The only right that I have is to change myself. Slowly give them that environment for them to adapt. Radical change and expecting them to radically adapt to our change, it is too much to handle. Keep that on the side note as a marker. Now, of all these likes and dislikes which trigger, now the next thing that you have to do, prioritize them. What is it that creates highest irritation to the lowest irritation? Now here you are merging all three levels, body, mind and intellect. There will be things that, some of us may be at a conviction level, some of us may be at a emotional level, some of us at a very physical things that irritate us. Reprioritize them and order them, and like you can even number them. And with each one of them, when you start working, believe me, in a month or two, you will be named as a saint of the house. Why? Because you have taken care of those rough edges which unknowingly unsettle me only. You've taken care of those rough edges. Now, once I am clear of my own rough edges, there are rough edges of people around me. I'll be able to handle those rough edges with mastery. A simple example. When you start learning to drive car, are we taught how to find good expertise in your own equipment or other equipments around, other cars around? Did you get my question? Did you understand my question? When you're learning how to drive, do you keep your windows open and scream at them, "Hey, hut! Move!" No. Or keep honking. Why? Because I am not able to shift to the other lane or move to the other direction. I cannot control the others. All that I have to control is myself. In the initial days, how complicated was it to align everything to learn how to drive? What are the various things that were there? What were the components? It has become such a second nature that we don't even remember those components. When you're given a new car or you're rented a new car, what is the first thing that you do as you sit in the car? First, adjust your seat. Then your steering height. Once that is set, then the mirrors, 3 mirrors. And not to check your lipstick or your beard, so that you can see the traffic in the back. 3 mirrors adjusted. And at least in this country, we don't have a stick shift. Anybody who drives a stick shift here? Not a single one. If it is a stick shift, you have more parameters added in there. There has to be a coordination with your hand movement and your foot movement. And while you are coordinating this, you have to have in the back of your mind the entire traffic flow. Who is on the other side, who is on this side, what kind of traffic is in front of you, what kind of traffic is behind you. And at that time, while learning, if anybody calls, cell phone, if you pick up the cell phone, speed will go down. Many times when the speed limit is 70 and somebody is driving at 45, when you cross them over and flip your head and see, what are they doing? They are on the phone. And they've forgotten that they're on traffic. And they've suddenly slowed down. And fast moving vehicles, you have to be careful and awareful of all those. So much so that the balance that has to be created is that if I'm just awareful about the outside parameters and forget the inside parameters, that will not work. I am awareful of the inside parameters but unaware of the outside. That also is not a safe driving. What is the perfect balance? If you go back to that small yellow book with red, green, black patterns on it, remember? For 15 years, they have not changed the cover page of it. I'm sure if you are here even earlier than me, you would agree that even in the past it was the same. They say for every 20 seconds, look and glance into the mirrors so that you are aware of what is happening. Do we do that now? Probably not. Many times we reach home and we don't even know what traffic we came through. As you hit the garage door opener, you think, "Arey, pahunch bhi gaya? How did I arrive here?" Why we are so engrossed in other stuff that this became like a routine. That is, you become your second nature. when you start paying attention, there's so many little things. And in those initial days while learning, wasn't it very overwhelming? That it almost gave you an anxiety bout. अरे बाहर जाना है, I have to drive the car. Avoid going out until there is a huge list, and then once in one shot, let me finish all that. I don't like going out driving. From there, now it is pretty quickly we catch up. With that, we spend almost half our life in those cars. Hasn't it become our second nature after regular practice? I'm sure the person who has driven in Dallas will not flinch when they're driving in New York. And the one who has driven in New York will not flinch if they're driving in Bombay. I'm just elevating the chaotic status. So much that in Bombay, you'll find it surprising, there will not be a single vehicle without a dent. Scary. That not just the chaos, but the bumping into each other, it chalta hai. Thoda sa lag gaya. So what is the best way? That I drive safe, not hitting into anyone, also making sure and awareful that they don't hit into me. Similarly is life. Every day as we use the vehicle, if we have these priorities and listed out and work one by one on each one of them, and there is no shortcut to that. Is there a meditation technique that I sit, close my eyes and do, suddenly all these things will change? I mean, if that were true, then I should be able to sit and meditate and my car seat, mirror, everything should adjust. Wherever I go, think of the car and it suddenly adjusts. Does it happen? Similarly with the internal equipment. It has to have that conscious working in layer after layer, priority after priority. Sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye, to clean oneself up. That there is hardly a pattern that can create a wave of frustration where every pointer is pointing towards myself and my lack of correction. If I can pay that half an hour, sit down and work on it. Can we take that as our next week research? And this research in Sanskritam is called Swadhyaya. And in Taittiriya Upanishad, it is given as an instruction. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. That Swadhyaya is so important. So, happy Swadhyaya. Study yourself and find those patterns. And if you are willing, we can think about discussing those patterns next week. But you have to remind me. Are you game? Ayyo. What a response. Imagine as a parent, you have given your peace of mind to your child and you look at for an, are you game? And they're like, whatever. That surge of disappointment I could feel. Hopefully you remember and we work on it next week. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.